Imagine spending your entire life defined by, loud, explosive street brawls and just endless aggressive energy. And then suddenly, you find yourself sitting in absolute freezing silence on a mountaintop.
Yeah, that is a pretty jarring shift.
Right. And that shift is exactly what we are looking at today as we jump into our sources on the Monogatari series' winter schedule, specifically the Karen Ogre arc.
Because we're exploring how a franchise actually thrives by investigating what happens after a story supposedly ends.
Exactly. Okay, let's unpack this. It is essentially like a hit TV show wrapping up its massive world-ending mystery, only to zoom in on the weird, intensely wordy, supernatural leftovers of the characters' summer vacations.
And, I mean, doing that is a huge creative risk. Usually, once the core mystery is solved, the curtain falls. But here, the narrative uses that post-finale space for a massive pivot.
Yeah, leaving the main protagonist behind.
Right, and isolating secondary characters instead.
Yeah.
Specifically, Karen Araragi.
The taller, aggressive, justice-obsessed half of the Fire Sisters. Which leads us to this Monogatari segment. She just, abandons the suburban dojos and street brawls for a totally solitary journey into the mountains.
Seeking a more substantial non-physical strength, yeah.
But wait, let me challenge that right out of the gate. Is this actually a profound pivot? Yeah. Or is author Nisio Eisen just milking the franchise? I mean, we already had a literal final season.
That's a fair point.
Taking a high-energy character who solves problems by punching them and suddenly sticking her in solitary silent mountain meditation. I don't know, it feels like a forced excuse to just keep producing content without a clear direction.
Well, it is entirely fair to be skeptical of anything coming out after a designated final season, but if we look at the mechanics of the story, this isolation is actually necessary.
Why necessary, though?
You strip away the suburban dojos and the street fights because you have to remove her default coping mechanism. Like, she cannot punch her way out of a mountain.
Right. Good luck punching a blizzard.
Exactly. For the entire run, this character has operated strictly within the gravity of her highly eccentric family dynamics.
Stuck in her weird brother's shadow, essentially.
Yeah. So if you want to figure out who she actually is as an individual, you have to completely remove her from that context. You force her into a situation where physical strength is completely useless.
Which fundamentally changes the viewing experience,
Yeah.
Because she is completely alone, the animation studio has to translate that internal psychological struggle directly onto the screen.
And Studio Shaft is absolutely perfect for this.
Oh, 100%. With chief director Akiyuki Simbo and director Midori Yoshizawa at the helm, they are bringing their signature style to this. But the setting makes it hit very differently. We are talking minimalist mountain peaks, sprawling snowy vistas.
And intense internal monologues. Because without anyone to talk to, the dialogue turns entirely inward. And this is where Shaft's rapid-fire text cards really elevate the material.
Those text cards are iconic.
They are, but they aren't just a quirky stylistic choice here. They perfectly mimic the mechanics of an isolated mind.
Oh, how so?
Think about it. When you are alone in absolute silence, your thoughts don't slow down, they speed up. They become intrusive and overlapping.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is so true.
Right. So flashing paragraphs of text on screen for a fraction of a second physically replicates that mental overload. You, the viewer, are hit with that same overwhelming flood of internal anxiety that she is experiencing on that mountain.
It creates such a fascinating contrast. You have these sprawling, incredibly still, snowy vistas paired with an absolutely chaotic barrage of internal text.
Visualizing complete external stillness versus internal panic.
Yeah. And releasing Karen Ogre during the winter schedule just enhances that friction perfectly.
The synergy there is brilliant. The creative team is deliberately syncing the release window with the environment of the story.
Which is so immersive.
Right, because watching those chilling, isolated mountain vistas while the temperature is actually dropping outside your own window, it blurs the line between the character's physical environment and yours.
It really proves that a franchise's longevity isn't just about escalating the stakes or, finding a bigger villain. Digging into what happens next is often far more revealing than the main mystery that brought us there in the first place.
Absolutely, because individual growth doesn't suddenly halt just because the overarching plot has ended. I mean, the messy work of figuring yourself out happens in the quiet aftermath.
Which leaves you with a pretty fascinating question to consider. If the primary drama of your own life, the final season, wrapped up tomorrow, what kind of solitary, mountain-climbing off-season journey would you embark on to discover who you are without the main plot?